If you think that procrastination means that you are lazy, then you have been lied to. Procrastination is not a sign of a character flaw. It's normally a coping mechanism. Today's question is very simple. Have you ever beaten yourself up for failing to respond to, say, a WhatsApp message or even an email? You see the notification pop up and you ignore it. You finally choose to open the message and you read it and you close it without responding to it. Most of the times, the reason why we procrastinate on such simple tasks is not because you are rude or because the task was very big, but it's normally because of the feeling that rushes through our body when we see that kind of message. There's some level of emotional push that comes from that notification. So today we're going to go on a deep dive to understand why people actually procrastinate and methods we can use to overcome this procrastination loop. The first reason why people procrastinate is because of emotional avoidance. Most tasks we do come with some burden emotionally, some load emotionally that inhibit us or make us have an incentive to procrastinate. For example, let's take a person who has been consistently applying to jobs time and again, and every single time or majority of the times this person gets a rejection from the places they have been applying to. The next time this person sees a job opening, they're going to hesitate to apply because of the emotional trauma that comes with these applications. Because every time they see these applications, their brains remind them that they are a failure and they will amount to nothing. That's the first reason why people normally procrastinate. So if you ever find yourself in a scenario where you have or share a similar feeling, as opposed to thinking that you are lazy and you are the problem, remind yourself that that is your brain trying to protect you, and that's okay, and breathe for like 5 minutes and proceed with the task at hand. The second reason why people procrastinate is because of the overwhelm from the specific task that is at hand. Most times we procrastinate not because the task is so hard, but because the task looks so massive. Take an example of students during their exam period, or better still, a content creator who is trying to come up with a full project. Most times, if you look at these tasks at first glance, they look like mountains that are inconquerable, mountains that we cannot possibly traverse, mountains that we cannot climb. Because when we look at them, how we digest that information is that we ought to go through that whole lot of information at that very moment. And that's why you feel the feeling of overwhelm. Next time you are met with a task that looks so huge, my advice would be break that task down into smaller bits. Convert that mountain into manageable hills. When you do this, it's going to reduce the incentive for you to procrastinate, because the task is no longer going to look overwhelming, but it's now going to look manageable, and that's going to give you motivation to continue doing it. The third reason why people normally procrastinate is because of the fear of failure. And here I'd say perfectionism is a very sneaky form of procrastination, because it keeps us in a loop of overthinking and hinders us from moving forward and making any progress. Take, for example, you want to start something new, you want to launch a project or launch an Instagram page for your business, or even submit your assignment. Perfectionism will keep you asking yourself questions such as, what if I fail? What if my page amounts to nothing? What if no one engages with my content? And that is going to keep you in a stuck cycle of perpetual stagnation, and that's bad for you. So what your brain is trying to tell you is that you need to be brilliant. But the problem is the mechanism it's going to push you to use is one that is going to make you not achieve that brilliance. One thing you have to have in mind is that for you to achieve any brilliance, you need to be visible and real, because when you are visible, you'll receive feedback, and feedback is very important to help you be able to identify the flaws within you and act on them in a way that will help propel you forward. So that's why you ought to be able to recognize why you fall into procrastination in the first place, so that you can be able to deal with the underlying issues as opposed to what social media consistently tells you. The second thing we're going to talk about is how do we deal with it when procrastination happens, because the bare fact that I've given you reasons why procrastination happens does not mean procrastination will always be evaded. So sometimes it will happen. So in the instance when it happens to you, you need to have a mindset shift, in the sense that when procrastination happens, don't see it as a failure, but see it as a signal from your brain. Your brain is telling you that something is overwhelming it, or your brain is telling you that it is afraid of being judged. So that when you recognize this, you're going to be able to actively spur movement within you, as opposed to making yourself feel bad about yourself and hinder your own movement. Because sometimes the energy we yield within us actively affects our environments and the outcomes that we are able to achieve. So that's why it's important to have that paradigm shift. As I summarize, there are 3 ways you can mitigate your procrastination loop. Firstly, break down the tasks into smaller sections. So if you have big tasks at hand, break them down into manageable hills, and that will help you be able to tackle them better. Secondly, set a timer. Like a 5-minute timer is going to be enough. Normally, it takes us just 5 minutes to be able to move from a state of being stuck into one of being unstuck, and being able to move forward with our tasks or the activities we are expected to do. And thirdly, and most importantly, say out loud that you are not lazy, you are just scared of being judged. Or you can also say that I feel overwhelmed, and that's okay. You can recite these 2 mantras one after the other, or you can pick one of them and say it at least 3 times or a maximum of 5 times. This is going to help calm down and soften your nervous system, and this is going to help you be able to move on with the task at hand. As I conclude, I'd like to point out that I have also been stuck in that cycle of procrastination. But what helped me was not having these planners and this system set up in place as social media tells us, but it was me identifying why I actually procrastinate, and hence taking active steps that helped me work with myself as opposed to working against myself. Remember, you are not a problem. You are not the issue. The issue is that your brain is trying to keep you in a loop that posits or wants to show itself to you like it's helping you while it's not. Now that you have the mechanisms, it's upon you to act upon them and take active steps to improve yourself. Next time, we're going to talk about how to build momentum, and as you're going to find out, it has nothing to do with willpower. Thank you so much for listening to the very end. See you next week, same time, same place. Adios.